Sony really wanted a brand new Spider-Man movie, so they topped two seriously smart guys, Phil and Chris, to just kind of figure the whole thing out. Now, Phil and Chris, they absolutely loved Spidey. But honestly, they were totally over the usual expected story. They wanted to build something beautifully fresh right from the ground up. So they laid down some hard, non-negotiable demands. They basically said, yeah, we're going to do it, but it absolutely has to be an animated movie, and it has to star Miles Morales.
And Miles, he's just a totally different kind of hero. He's this incredibly relatable kid from Brooklyn. And unlike the usual superhero tragedy we always see, he actually has his mom and his dad still around, just trying to guide him.
The studio bosses were definitely sweating a bit because people usually only liked Peter Parker. But once they finally caved and agreed, Phil and Chris started building an incredible team, bringing in hundreds of the absolute best artists in the world. These directors had this massive, almost impossible vision for a super specific style. They wanted the movie to look and feel exactly like you were holding a real, physical comic book right in your hands. See, most computer cartoons look incredibly smooth, almost like shiny plastic toys. And the team kind of hated that. They told their artists to break all the rules. They wanted the pictures to look crunchy, with these messy, vibrant lines. It was like stepping back to look at a giant mosaic made entirely of tiny, imperfect, beautiful tiles. The huge hurdle here was that real comic books are printed using these tiny colored dots that blend together. Computers literally had no idea how to draw these dots. They only knew how to make things flawlessly, perfectly smooth. This led to the ultimate grind. Artists actually had to sit down and type brand new code just to patiently teach the machines how to draw these tiny, super specific dots to create shadows. Next up, they had to tackle how things actually move. Instead of the usual super fluid 24 pictures every single second, they decided to show only 12. They called this animating on twos, and it intentionally made the movement look a little choppy, a little broken. And it was just a brilliant idea. That choppy movement made the characters feel way less like slick computer models. It gave the visuals the exact rhythm of flipping through the pages of a beautifully drawn book. Just pure magic. But they immediately hit a big snag. This choppy movement made fast action look way too blurry, and your eyes just couldn't follow the fights. It was a lot like waving a sparkler in the dark, where everything just turns into this messy, confusing trail of light. To fix this, the artists had to invent this totally wild trick. They started hand-drawing long, stretched-out smears of color right between the choppy pictures. That way, your brain could just smoothly connect all the jumps without losing any of that cool crunchiness. And they definitely didn't stop there. Whenever someone got hit on screen, they mischievously threw big, bold comic words like "pow" right into the action. It completely sealed that perfect comic book vibe. They also used this brilliant technique called line work. Artists painstakingly hand-drew stark black lines right on top of the 3D shapes. They sketched over faces to show deep feelings and traced over buildings to show cracks and real texture. Now, this took a monumental amount of time. While a normal cartoon might take a few days for a scene, this was taking these artists weeks to finish just a single second of the movie, which made the studio wildly nervous. So the team knew they had to prove they weren't crazy. They worked up a special test scene packed with all their weird new visual tricks. And when they finally showed it to the big bosses, they were amazed. The crazy style actually worked beautifully. They were so blown away that they threw even more money at the project. That allowed the directors to hire more artists and grow the team to over 800 people. With the art finally clicking into place, they needed the perfect voices. They found a young actor named Shamek, whose voice made Miles sound exactly like a real kid. He was slightly scared, but fiercely brave when it actually counted. They gathered an amazing mix of funny and serious actors for all the other characters, giving everyone a totally unique sound. The animators then had the intense, really tedious job of matching those mouth movements perfectly, making these weird cartoon bodies act just like real people. You know how it goes with creative geniuses, though. Phil and Chris kept constantly changing the script. They were obsessed with perfection, sometimes throwing away whole scenes, which left the poor artists completely exhausted from redrawing everything from scratch. But they pushed through the exhaustion, because all this grueling hard work was for one specific reason. They wanted this movie to have a massive, beating heart.
something that would make you legitimately cry and then stand up and cheer right there in the theater.
All of that emotion perfectly builds to this famous, incredibly beautiful scene. Miles finally believes in himself. He takes this terrifying leap off a towering building, and the camera just flips. So it looks like he's actually falling gently up into the sky. The team dedicated months of their lives to this one single jump. They tweaked the art and synced the music just to make that specific moment feel like pure magic. But right as they approached the finish line, disaster struck. The computer files for all those millions of tiny dots and hand-drawn lines got so massive that they started crashing the systems. It was literally like trying to pour an entire swimming pool into a tiny teacup. Luckily, some incredibly smart engineers swooped in just in time. They built these massive, way bigger digital brains for the studio, literally saving the movie from breaking right at the very end. And they really needed that save because time was running out fast. It was autumn, the December deadline was just looming over them, and the studio turned into this chaotic blur of late nights, endless cups of coffee, and artists just sleeping at their desks, desperately racing to paint those final dots and lines. But when families finally sat in those dark theaters and the movies started to play, they just couldn't believe their eyes. It didn't look like a normal cartoon. It felt alive. And for so many kids, they were finally seeing a brave hero on that massive screen who looked exactly like them. It was everything. The wins just kept rolling in. It got amazing reviews, made hundreds of millions of dollars, and completely shattered the mold. It started this huge, awesome trend of messy, brilliant animation across the entire industry. It even took home the gold statue at the Oscars for Best Animated Movie of the Year. Phil and Chris proved that taking huge risks and letting things get a little messy can create something truly beautiful. It's really all about finding your own power. If mistakes and messy lines can make art this beautiful, what's your superpower waiting to be discovered? And hey, if you loved diving into how this masterpiece came together, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, share this with a friend who loves movies, and definitely subscribe for more deep dives. Catch you next time.